and this is a presumption, of course, you are something that exists.
Right.
Or you think may exist.
Absolute reality. If there is an absolute reality, that is something that would exist. That would be something that doesn't change.
Have you read any Plato, by the way?
Very little Plato 1,000 years ago.
1,000 years ago, okay.
Yeah, I don't think that...
Understandable. No, I'm not testing you. I'm bringing it up because of similarities.
I think this has something to do with Plato. Plato has the ideal world, right? That's exactly what he talked about, right? And I don't think Plato was an influence on me at all. Maybe
are any of the influences have any of the atomists influenced you in the past?
I guess everything has an influence on me.
These ancient Greeks that thought that everything, the essence of all being was atoms. The atomic. You say that a lot, by the way.
Well, there was one guy who said you can't step into the same river once. You know, you can't step into the same river twice.
By the way, that's Heraclitus again.
Yeah. Well, and I, you know.
Do you like that one?
You can't step in the same river
twice.
You can't step into the same river twice.
Yeah.
But I like it better that you can't step into the same river once. I like that even better.
You are a riot. You are a riot indeed. And I hope we can send this to some of the philosophical societies around the country. Perhaps at one of their monthly meetings they can amuse themselves. Let's see here. I don't know. I'm wary of boring our audience with deep stuff all the time. But I think with you, because you tend to be deep, or try to be deep most of the time on your records, in your music, in your poetry. By the way, are you foremostly a poet or a musician?
Or you know, it's there. I think I'm more of I'm a person who thinks has certain ideas. I've struggled many years to have a vision that I personally have faith in, and I try to express it. If I use language, if I use music, these are just tools. That's all. I'm not into music or poetry. I mean, those are just tools that I use to express my
tools
ideas.
For communication.
That's what they are. I'm not. Why would I be? Why would I be a poet? The guy who writes all the time? I don't care. I use words.
Yeah, you use words.
So
are those? Let me ask you. No, but it's a valid question for a guy like me to ask. Those words that you put down on paper or sing out in public, poems, if you read them.
Great poems.
They are great poems.
They are.
Obviously, you consider yourself a poet.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. So I guess.
But I don't like to be thrown in that category. You know,
you're a lot of things at once, obviously, right?
I'm not just somebody who sits and writes poems. I do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I express myself in performance. I express myself in conjunction with other musicians. I express myself in a bar, every place. Life itself, the being of life is an art.
Yeah. Could you move your chair back a little bit? I just like to get a larger shot here, and I will be, of course, coming in close up at times, but it gives us a view and perspective. Let's see here. If we're talking about philosophy, and I guess we are, even though you're best known as a musician or as a seller of records, how is it that you, on the one hand, claim that nothing exists, and on the other hand, you are so, how should I say, engaged in matters of social import, of social consciousness,
because it's being,
of social reality?
It's just the process of being. You have to, because I say that nothing exists, does not mean you cannot be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. You can be any. The most important thing is that you're being at any moment.
What is a doctor? If there's nothing, wait, hold on. If nothing exists, what is a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher? Is that anything? Or is that just an illusion?
In the process of being, just as the plant is being, we are being, and that's what I believe in. I believe in just being at any moment.
Right.
Now, I say that this is an illusion. And it's an illusion in reference to our own personal senses. But there is a being process. The atoms move. Whatever makes up all the forces that are there that just beat you. You are what you are.
Okay, how do you define
social
social
reality? For me to come here and do an interview to promote some of my ideas, so be it.
How do you define social reality? You talk about social reality in some of your songs, and I would say in
society is a necessary or unnecessary evil. I never liked society, but at the same time, if it wasn't for society, I'd be trying to invent the wheel right now. And so society is. I don't think I would be afraid of the thunder as if it was a god, or I wouldn't want to go back into the horrendous ignorance that existed in the past. I wouldn't want that, and because of society, we don't have that ignorance. You wouldn't guess that by talking to the average person in the street who's still walking around with a 15th century mentality. But society has a lot of evil in it, in terms of the destruction of the individual. So, it's like a necessary evil,
So, this is all good preliminary stuff. It's a thumbnail sketch, really, of your whole social. But you have obviously admitted that society exists in some way. Society is real. Society is real.
No. Nothing above the atomic level, including the atom, is real. There's nothing that's changing.
Is anything real? Is anything real, Copernicus?
There may be something in the subatomic level that doesn't change. We now believe that there are elements called quarks that make up the protons and neutrons. And if the quark is a particle of matter that doesn't change from one moment to the next, then that would be something real. But I am not dealing with the subatomic world so much. I'm really dealing from the atom up. Okay, is basically the world that I deal in. I don't really get involved too much in the subatomic world. So
but you say
nothing. I interpret is from the atom up.
You say nothing exists for them, and I think somehow that phrase alone seems to be implying that you are a philosopher. That
Why does it have to be a philosopher? Just a person that makes an observation. I mean, everybody is a philosopher. Every human being is a philosopher. Everybody sees and everybody has their ideas, whether their ideas are right or wrong. But everybody is a philosopher. I mean, it doesn't make me any different from the next guy. I mean,
it does, because your stuff is not radical, isn't it?
Oh well, maybe you're very far behind. I don't know.
I may well be.
So,
I may well be.
Copernicus told the world that the Earth was not the center of the solar system, that it was the sun. And they killed him, and they killed Giovanni Bruno in Italy for saying that. Right after Copernicus died, Giovanni Bruno said, "Hey, the sun is the center!" They would burn that guy. They burned him. So, radical? I guess he was. But the point is that the world was also far behind, weren't they? So, no.
True, but wouldn't it be true also that if what you're saying is true, that you have totally displaced the last Copernicus?
I say something of equal importance, maybe of greater importance, but of equal importance.
It's of equal importance.
Oh, I think it's greater than.
Let's say it's even greater. So, do you negate him? I think you must.
Not negate him. What do you mean negate him?
I mean, there is no solar system.
No.
If what you're saying is true, there is no solar system.
No.
Does the solar system exist?
Nothing exists.
Okay.
Anything above the atomic level.
So was Copernicus? Was the first Copernicus talking about illusion at the time?
On the sun that exist. There may be elements that are that do not change. Now I'm not talking about the subatomic level. Now you understand what level I'm talking about. I'm going to atom up.
Is the atom real?
No, the atom.
Is the quark real?
I don't know. That I don't think scientists know.
If it's real.
I don't think they know. I don't think they found a smaller particle than the quark yet. I don't know if there are other particles that make up quarks.
Okay, I think there's some things called charm particles. I had a professor who won actually a Nobel Prize for discovering the so-called charm particle. But I did horribly poorly in his class, unfortunately, in physics.
I think the importance of this whole vision is that it helps us to see ourselves real way. It's a very sad thing to go through life and making reality everything that only what you see, what your senses, or what you perceive, what your senses. This is real. Seeing is believing. That's the worst and most ignorant statement you could ever make. You know, seeing is not believing. You can't see the billions of atoms that make up my entire body. You can't see the atoms in the air. When you breathe in the oxygen, you feel your air, you feel your lungs filling up. But can you see the oxygen atoms going into your body and filling up? You can't see it. You can't. But you can feel it. You can feel it going in, but you can't see it. You can't see the billions of atoms between you and I. You know.
I can't.
And if you actually had atomic microscope eyes, that you were able to see, look at me with your atomic microscope eyes, that which would give you the power to see all the atoms in the air, you wouldn't even see me. I would disappear. I wouldn't be here. The atoms in the air would be taking up, the atoms in my body would be running around, playing all the little games, joining with the oxygen in the air, and all the X-rays and ultraviolet rays shooting through this room. This is the reality I'm trying to make people aware of. This is the reality that we have to relate to.
You have a specific organization of atoms. You're not just any configuration of atoms. You're that configuration of atoms. And that means that you can do certain things that qualify you to be a human. But let's not even talk that much about. I don't know. I feel that I have sort of trodden in fields that I'm not that familiar with, frankly. And I'd like to bring it back to those areas with which I'm more familiar. And you are too, Copernicus, because you have many sort of specialties, if you will. And get back to the songs themselves, because, well, just to make a segue into our discussion of your songs, how do you feel being one of the only guys in the music industry today who really puts a lot of thought into his song? In whose music the content is a major component of the message, of the whole package?
Because most of
how do you feel being alone?
Because I'm not part of what you see when you say the music industry, that means these guys, they want to make a song and they wanted to sell it and make $1 million. They're artists, and I call these people entertainers. You see, they want to make people feel good, and so they give the masses what they want. The masses go wee, and they buy the record and they make $1 and they're happy. That's not my job. I'm an artist. I want to see. I have a vision of reality that I struggled very hard and worked hard to find. I have something to say, and that's the reason I'm an artist, and that's my reason to be. And I am a dictator, as you said before. A true artist is a dictator. He doesn't go and take a vote of the people and say, "Gee, what song do you want me to sing now, guys?" I'm a dictator. I say what my vision is, and that's what my job is. That's all. I'm telling you what I struggle to find after traveling, thinking, and reading, and doing everything else. And I'm trying to paint it. And certainly it might be a bit of the average person, because the average person hasn't been privileged, as I have been privileged in my life, to travel, to see, to think, and to live day after day, moment by moment, caring about truth, caring about absolute truth, wanting to know it. I mean, I did the last concert I did here at Judith Anderson Theater. One of the guys who takes in the equipment was standing in the back, and at the end of the show, he came up to me and he says, "Great choices, but I'm not sure I want to think about those things." He didn't want to think about those things. You see, I think about them 24 hours a day, and most people say you go crazy by thinking of these things. Well, I don't go crazy. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting deeper. I'm understanding things much better. By confronting reality, you don't get weaker. You get stronger. You don't go crazy. You go crazy by drinking beer, taking marijuana, and sniffing cocaine. You get crazy by doing that, by displacing the natural rhythms of your body. That will make you crazy. But by confronting and searching for truth, you will become stronger.
Do you have an anti-drug message then? Is that the point?
Yeah. Well, sure. People use drugs because society itself is too demanding. We don't know how we don't have the teachers to tell us how to come in contact with ourselves and together and bring it together without drugs. Society is always involving itself in attempting to enslave us. And so, for too many people, the only way to get that harmony within ourselves is through drugs. By taking whatever drug you take, it pushes society away, and you're able to be alone with yourself. But the trick is that to be able to do without the drug, so you don't harm yourself. Drugs harm your body. You know, they really harm your body. Why should you have to harm yourself to get closer to what is real? I mean, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. But this is the kind of society we live in. Someone taught our parents to be alcoholics and smoke nicotine heads, and now since the 60s, now they take 1,000 different other drugs. So that's the society we live in. They're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The trick is to do it without the drug. The drug damages you. It may give you that momentary respite, that rest, but the after effects are very, very damaging. And then, if they become addictive, where you need it to get there, then, you know, it's like cut one of your toes off to get there. And then after a while you have no toes, and you have to cut your foot off to get there. And pretty soon there's nothing left.
Okay.
Now let me take a drug of some caffeine. As I just spoke against drugs, I'm going to take a little sip of caffeine.
Okay, and we'll take a break here and be back with you.
No breaks.
Okay. Let's see what we have to ask you about the songs, because I want to get to the issue of social consciousness. Even though you do say that nothing exists, you also talk about a lot of social issues. Let's see.
How about I beat him with the make on the kitchen, make noise, you bastard.
I guess from just looking at the lyric sheets here, one of the most interesting or provocative songs is "Son of a Bitch from the North," and I'd like to read a little bit from it if I could. It says, "With a bag of sticks on her back, up the Guatemalan mountains in her blue faded dress, the old man was in front of her with his bag of sticks, and the vegetation changed from bananas to Christmas trees." And there's a Spanish passage which translates, "May the bombs of the gringos not fall on us. I hope that the gringos' bombs don't fall on us. I can take care of myself. Take care of my children, because the gringos have sent the Contras against us, and they are going to kill us. Bomb their ports." You say in a different voice here, I guess. "Send those fucking guerrillas in and blow that fucking Sandinista motherfucker away. Blow that motherfucker away times 3. All children shall run into the ditches and hide. When the gringos' planes come, hide. The gringo, the man from the north, the man from the north. Gringo, son of a bitch from the north," repeatedly, "and he comes to kill us." So, pretty charged stuff there, Copernicus. I was just wondering, which position are you taking? Are you identifying with the position of the narrator here?
I'm the peasant. I'm the Central American peasant.
You're the peasant.
Yeah, I just want to explain to you how that was created. We were in a studio with a band called Chill Faction, and that was all done right up the top of my head. They started playing this music, and that music just knocked that out, and I knocked it out in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole thing was living in me. That's not something I sat down and wrote. That's one of the times where
it was an extemp
totally
sort of production.
Improvised, and music, and it's a really wonderful piece. I used to do it on stage. I messed up my knee doing it on stage.
Is your message that the U.S. should stay at home, basically? Is that it?
No, I was the peasant in here. This is the peasant.
Yeah.
There's no message. If somebody was dropping a bomb on your mother, where would you like them to keep that bomb? What would you say to them if they were dropping bombs on your mother? What would you say to them?
I would say stop.
Well, that's all he's saying. Let's run. Let's get the kids and hide. They're going to drop the bombs on us. And who's dropping these bombs? The guy from the north, the gringo from the north. Mm-hmm. He pays the money, and they're killing us.
Let me ask you a question.
Should nothing to do with what the United States should go or what?
No, I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm just saying, should I, when I hear this as an American viewer, feel guilty?
Better feel guilty, of course.
Okay.
America's a violent country. We killed a lot of people.
But you find good things about America too, or not?
Yeah.
You do? What's good about America?
What's good about America?
Yeah.
Freedom.
What freedom? What do you mean by
freedom? I really don't think that I know the world fairly well. I traveled for many years all over the world. I don't think that a Copernicus could have evolved in any other part of the world. Well, there's probably no other city than New York. So that's something good. There is a freedom here that lets somebody like me do what I do and evolve. You know, this freedom and has allowed me to acquire the means to do what I do, so I can communicate to the world, and that's something very good. That's a great compliment. That's what America does stand for, this freedom thing. See, lots of countries claim to have freedom, but they don't. See, like countries like France and Germany, they claim to have freedom, but they don't have freedom. Most countries of the world don't have freedom. You take England, they talk about freedom, but that's a class society. Although we have classes in America, but here you could be born in the lower classes and go to the top, because here class is based on money. In England, class is based on where you were born. When you were born there, you stay there. I mean, so America is noted for its freedom is wonderful, and a fantastic city like New York, where you have the opportunity to meet other people who are open-minded and who are not going to kill you because of what you say. I've been given the opportunity to function and evolve. I'm just evolving all the time.
You said, or I said rather, in introducing you before, that you are listed among the alternative music artists. What is your message, essentially? And why is it an alternative message? Why is it not accepted in the mainstream? Why is it not part of the mainstream? Because you believe it would
I don't use $20 million. Michael Jackson was just given $20 million to promote his new album. Mm-hmm. I don't have $20 million to promote my album, my new album. So that's the basic difference. If I took $20 million and took my new album and promoted it, I would be in the mainstream. I mean, Michael Jackson is weird as anybody else. Prince, these people are weird people. They are very strange people. And
yeah, but
so what I'm saying is, you give me $20 million, I'll become mainstream very quickly. Believe me.
So you have a message.
If I have to give all the payola to all of these stations, for a certain amount of money, you get the airplay, all that whole game, that whole immoral game that so-called mainstream music is involved in. All they're doing is just using a system to make money from people. That's all they're doing. They're not caring about truth. They don't care about showing truth. They care about a parasitic teeth into the minds of the people. They're enemies. They're really enemies of the people.
Who are these enemies, by the way?
Mainstream, what you call mainstream music. They use music to make money. They don't care about truth. They care about money. Unfortunately, the public keeps buying these records. That's it. Unfortunately, they're not supplying. The public is not supporting the true artists who care about truth. I mean, it's crazy. That's what the system is, and the people have to pay. The people have to pay because they're not supporting their alternative artists, their true artists. Not, the people will pay because if you don't nurture your artists, you're not going to get the product of an artist. You know, if you try to destroy an artist, you're destroying your own imagination, your own creativity. A society grows through its art. They don't even teach that in school. They don't even teach that in school, that art is important. What they teach in school is get a tool to make money. So,
do they teach that?
Oh, I think that's what they teach.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you've been to school, haven't you?
Well, I felt that I wasn't taught enough about making money, but I was taught about a lot of other things.
This is a society that revolves around making money, and at some point in everybody's life, you have to say to yourself, I am not a whore, I'm not going to sell my entire life, that there's a world outside of money, there is a spiritual world that I want to evolve in, and if I don't take the time to evolve and become the spiritual person that I should become, and this is a thing that has nothing to do with money, then I'm a fool. I missed life. Robert Maxwell just bounced off a boat, and he had $2 billion. So what? Do you want to be the richest guy in that bounces off the boat? Life is not a matter of how
Let me
much
see
you
one
do.
thing here. You have a song that says "White from Black." Is that right? And that song says that basically white people have evolved from black people.
That's just scientific fact.
Is it?
Oh yeah, man evolved in Africa. I mean, that's, if we don't go according to what our best scientists tell us, then we're fools. And that's all you can go by. These people, man, according to our best archaeologists, and that man did evolve in Africa.
What is the social significance of this fact, if it is a fact?
The social significance is that people are saying my skin is white and your skin is black and your skin is yellow and your skin is brown, so we are all different. But that's not true. You shouldn't be measuring people by the color of their skin. It's ridiculous. I mean, we all come from the same mother and father, so we're all brothers. And all of these differences based on the color of the skin is sick. It's just ignorance. I mean,
Ignorance is a main theme in your work.
It's man's largest, biggest enemy. Man's largest, biggest enemy is ignorance, because ignorance forces you to hurt yourself and hurt your brother. I do that in Blood. If you remember I don't know if you heard that in the first album, Blood. I do that on stage.
It's true, Copernicus, but
it's the ignorance that causes the blood.
One can't help avoid.
I don't believe in evil. It's ignorance.
One can't avoid thinking that this guy bemoans the amount of ignorance that exists in the world today, which is great in his opinion. Yet he thinks that he has the answer himself, that he is not ignorant, that he is enlightened, that he can enlighten. Are these true things?
That's the biggest problem in life, when people misjudge themselves and don't really understand who they are. And Hitler was someone who believed in the ultimate superiority of the white race, and I'm pretty sure he believed in that, and he spent his life trying to prove that. And so, in a sense, you say he was a very sincere person. Unfortunately, we there are forces in the earth that were stronger and that fought against this miscreant, this person who was sincere, maybe, but wrong. That men are brothers, and one race is not superior. One race is not superior to another. That it's all one race, the human race. I don't know. I only include the human race. I say all animals are the same. All animals are brothers. The cats, the dogs, the cockroaches, the birds. We are all brothers. That I don't separate the human race from animals.
But do they exist?
Nothing exists. When you've brought me back into the world of illusion here, and I hope you understand that I'm talking in terms with the language of illusion, and we're back in this world of illusion, and that's what you're doing. And
Well,
you're sort of
okay.
taking my main
So-
message, so that's up to you, because you don't want to get too heavy for your audience. So that's what. But I'm just going along with you because you're the.
We can
you're
come. We can come back to the heavy stuff if you like.
Everything is. There's nothing heavy or light. There's just as long as you recognize that we are back into the world of illusion here, and back into the world of determining that reality is what we perceive with our human senses. And have fun.
Oh, great. But what do you think? Are you an adherent to Eastern religions?
I have nothing to do with Eastern.
Are you a student of
No.
Hindu philosophy?
No, I will be honest with you that
They say that everything is illusory in this world.
Yeah, but I think,
don't they?
Yeah, I traveled in India, and I did go.
And you weren't influenced at all by them?
I think so, to some extent. And I was only 3 months in India, but I was outside the town of Benares, where Buddha supposedly made his first. And I did read a little pamphlet, and I read this pamphlet. It was just unbelievable that I agreed with so many things that were in this pamphlet. You can't tell me that this little stupid pamphlet, what is Buddhism pamphlet, totally overwhelmed me. It was that I found so many things in this little ridiculous pamphlet that I agreed with. Now, there are things in Buddhism I don't agree with. Buddhists, as far as I know, there are many Buddhist sects, but I think every Buddhist sect recognizes that in every human being there is something. I say there is nothing. So there is something different, basically different. I say there is nothing. So Buddhists will say that though this is a world of illusion, and we shouldn't be that attached to it, that there is still something.
Well, that's a main point of agreement in any event. But I would still say that you have some things in common with those folks. There's one other thing that came to mind when I went through a number of your songs. The word nihilism. And so what did I do? I went to my trusty home encyclopedia and looked up what the definition was, or what sort of an entry there might have been for nihilism. And I'd like to read it for you, if you'd permit me.
But just precede the fact that that word is never used anywhere in my albums, so I know what you mean.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, you do say the word no.
Yeah.
Which might have suggested the word nihilism to my brain. I can't say how my brain works.
Well,
exactly.
You can imagine anything you like, but
sure.
I never use the word nihilism. It's nihilism in my mouth anywhere.
All right, let's.
It's not part of my dictionary. Part of my vocabulary.
All right, I'll pronounce it as you. Then nihilism. The definition that I show is Russian movement of the late 19th century, which sought social and political freedom for the individual through rejection of all forms of authority and traditional moral obligation. The word nihilism was publicized by the Russian novelist Turgenev, who used it to describe his hero of Fathers and Sons in 1862. Nihilists were characterized by skepticism, coarseness of speech and behavior, and a materialistic utilitarianism and agnostic approach to life. Some nihilists joined revolutionary groups such as the one that assassinated Alexander II, but many others were occupied with the development of their own personalities without interference from any outside source. Other intellectuals in Russia were angered that nihilism would destroy all possibility of orderly and purposeful existence and was directly contrary to real human needs and desires. What do you think about orderly and purposeful existence? Is that something that's a high value for you?
I think you should be what you are. Be. You should communicate with your head and inside this force inside of you. There should be a communication, and you should be the expression of that conversation. That's what I care about. That's what I call respect for yourself, and follow that. And that's all you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about having a purpose. Just have that. What you should have is that conversation with yourself and follow it. One second now.
Sure.
Keep running. Go ahead.
All right. So you're not quite a nihilist, is what you'd say, or are you?
I don't like anything that's going to box me in anywhere. I am what I am. Being is important, and you start throwing some kind of a tattoo on me, you'll have a problem. Because I don't go according to anybody's I doubt if there is a definition for me. I walk in a lot of worlds, and that's all part of my being. And I wouldn't allow some school of thought to hem me in. My head hems me in. I have the universe, and that's a little too small for me. I'm looking for the outer edges of the universe. I mean, I have the universe is just too small for me. I need a large space. I don't need some nihilistic, some guy's definition of nihilism to keep me in.
That's true, I suppose. Yeah, but it's hard to say why you would need a large space if nothing exists.
Being. Just being, like the atom is being. Like all the parts of the world, just being what they are. You cannot. It's possible to be and at the same time not exist. Okay, that's disturbing for you. Do you hear what I'm saying now? I'll do it again slowly.
Well, most people associate the two. They equate the two.
It's possible to be and not exist at the same time. That's a very important message.
And what does that mean? What does that mean?
What does it mean? It means that the nothing exists part means that there is nothing here that is staying the same from one moment to the next. And the being part of it means that everything is just being what it is.
Okay. Let's go to some of the more lyrical.
But the trick to that is not only to think that, it's to apply that. And when you apply that thinking to when you wake up in the morning and when you get up and you put your pants on, that those thoughts come to your head and you apply them to your daily life. This is not just some far-off thought that you think about. It's something that you must apply to your daily life. Mm-hmm. And every moment of your life you should be being. If your conversation says, do this, and some outside force says, don't do this, which one are you going to do? Which way are you going to go? Answer.
That depends. Sometimes you go with the outside force, sometimes you go with yourself.
Well,
not everybody follows their own instincts that religiously, do they?
Well,
you're saying they should.
I don't know if I'm talking about.
You're saying they should.
I don't know if I'm talking about instincts. I think I'm talking about something quite a bit more involved than instincts, much deeper part of our being. The point is that you have to respect this conversation and follow it. And don't be so easily led by exterior forces, especially in society. Mm-hmm. Society is not a good thing. It's got a lot of bad stuff in it. And
but is man a social animal? A political animal?
I don't know if that's necessary. I mean, if you throw me into the jungle, why can't I...
Do you prefer to be in the jungle?
Well, I was born in New York City, so I never lived in the jungle.
Some would say otherwise.
What's the question now? Would I prefer to be in the jungle?
Would you? I mean, is the quote unquote state of nature that a lot of philosophers talk about when we were free?
And I'm sitting in this little room talking to you, so you're asking me, would I prefer to be in the Amazon jungle with the mosquitoes? I don't know. I'd probably prefer to be here, maybe. I might want to visit the mosquitoes, but I'm basically a New Yorker. a city guy.
You were born in New York, weren't you?
Well, if you want to use that word, I believe nothing is born, but if you want to use the world of illusion again, yeah, I was born in New York.
World of illusion, okay. Wow,
I think you think I'm playing word games. You said that one to me once before. You think this is a word game, what I'm doing here?
I kind of feel that way, I must say.
Maybe
Sometimes.
you should try harder to understand what I'm saying. I'm not playing a word game.
I think I know where you're coming from. I think I know.
Let me tell you something. This is not something that you could just understand quickly in a thought. You have to think a lot about it, and
I would go further. I would go further, Copernicus. You have to have had the thought before already yourself in order to pick it up. One of my pet ideas or theories is that one only fixes upon or associates with what ideas one has already thought out oneself in some form or another, such that they will recognize those ideas and embrace them as true or valid or whatever. And that's a very good segue, I think, into talking about your audience, the most important people in the world that does not exist. And
my audience is not that important. My true audience is truth. My vision for truth. That's who I play for. I don't play for an audience. I don't. If there are people out there, it's okay. But if they're not there, it's not my problem. I play for truth. I play that. I create so that my concept of truth is happy that I did what I did. If there's an audience out there, human beings, it's not my problem. I'm doing them a favor.
I must say, there's something a bit priestly about the way you come across. I don't know. I don't mean that as an insult, but I do mean it for you to react to it.
Well, I think that I'm sort of a priest. There is a priestly quality here.
How would you describe that priestly function?
Well, we say priest because I'm dealing with philosophical themes.
Philosophical,
and
moral,
very
existential.
Strong, yeah.
What
not
is?
Existential.
Wait,
use that word.
Wait a minute. No.
Don't use the word existential.
I mean it in the sense that thinking about where we came from, where we're going to, what is. In that sense,
the nature of our being, right?
Existential.
So,
one of the thoughts that came to my mind as I thought about you and read, I try to understand you primarily through the written text of your songs, because I didn't want to be emotionally affected either positively or negatively from the music. I just wanted to see what the message was, because I think that you are a message kind of artist. And I said to myself at certain times, certain songs of yours that relate to the idea that everything really exists on the subatomic level and such things, that this is a guy who, in a sort of a childish way, focuses on the idea of what will be when nothing is. When all humanity is gone and all that we can associate with or, identify with is gone, is no longer in existence. That is the defining reality of history. So you've caught upon this one imagination, as it were, the imagination of nothingness that can be, and that you have deified that is true now and forever and never was. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I like what you said, but it's not true. I didn't deify anything. I would never deify anything, and in fact, I will tell you honestly that because I think this way, this is what I think. I've thought for many years that I could be wrong. I am not God, and I haven't deified and put my thoughts into a stone. So I'm constantly evolving, and I hope my vision is evolving. It's definitely getting deeper and wider. So, and you say that I just grabbed onto this, what, so I could make records, or I grabbed onto this idea because I'm so...
Because it's part of you. It's because it reflects the way you view the universe.
It's what I really see, whether I'm right or wrong.
So the description that I gave is it reflective of the way you see the world? in a way?
Yes, it is. He did. It was pretty good. But the most important, you missed one little element there. The element that one of man's biggest faults is that he thinks he's such an important guy, and we keep having great people coming along telling man that he's not such a great guy. You know, he's not such an important man. I mean, that's the first Copernicus told the world. You know, that, before man believed that God made this earth and he put man on it, and then he made the sun, and he made the sun to keep man warm, and he made the animals here to give man meat, and he made the corn to give man corn, and he made the water so man would not be thirsty, and all of a sudden the first Copernicus comes along and say, hey, listen, you know, you're not the center of the world, you know, you're just on a little dinky planet clugging along around the sun. And that was a big disappointment for man, because man believed for 2,000 years up to that, for 2,000 years, that this was, that he was the most important thing. That was a real big disappointment. And then we had another guy come along by the name of Charles Darwin, who said, now, you're not only on this little dinky planet, all of these animals you've been walking around eating are your brothers and sisters. And when you take a fish out of the water, you're actually eating your own brother. You know, you evolved from algae. You evolved from fish. Your ancestors were swimming in the oceans. You know, your great ancestors were algae, plants, because there was once a time when the earth was only covered with algae, and then bacteria evolved, and we all actually evolved from bacteria. Bacteria are your ancestors. So the apes are your great-grandfathers.
Are these things true?
Well, we see, again, science has enormous amount of evidence in bones, and that we have bones that are millions of years old that are preserved, that we can show you and document the practical entire evolution of man. Now, if that's right in front of you and you can see it with your eyes, and there's no serious scientist today that doubts evolution. You know, you have to
I guess you believe that.
I guess I do. Yes, of course. And then you have another guy by the name of Sigmund Freud coming around and saying, hey, you know, you don't think that you dominate yourself, you're the big strong man, but actually you have forces within you which dominate you, that you are subject to all of these various forces. And he picked on sex as a central force that dominates you. And again, man is being put down, that he's not this big macho guy in the center of the world, the center of the planet. He's now on his little planet, evolved from fish, and he doesn't even control himself. He's got interior forces that control him. And then we have, in the 20th century, we have now the proof of the atom, that, you know, that you are not what you think you are. You're not what you see. When you see yourself in the mirror, that's not you. There is no you. What you see in the mirror is not you. That your entire body is made up of these atoms that are in constant motion. And then a guy like me comes along and says, you know, these things are everything is in constant motion. You don't even exist. So here's this guy who's thought, gee, I'm a big macho guy in the center of the solar system, and all of a sudden, in a few years, well, 500 years, he's now doesn't exist. And that's what happened to this poor guy. But we still have the majority of humanity going around thinking that they are in the image of God, and believing in life and death and heaven and hell, and they live their lives, and they eat these animals because these animals were made for them, and they kill this lamb and sacrifice it. They sacrifice the lamb for Jesus or for whoever they say. I mean, David Dinkins just came from South Africa, where the South Africans killed a lamb for him. You know, David Dinkins, the mayor of New York City, they killed a lamb for him so that he would be in
to eat it, right?
You know, how would you like if somebody took one of his children and cut one of his children's neck open and sacrificed it for the lambs? Because the lamb has as much right to live on this earth as David Dinkins. all animals and insects.
Have you never eaten the meat of a dead animal?
Yes.
Do you feel sorry for that?
Excuse me?
Do you feel sorry for that?
This is what I am not a perfect person, and I have not freed myself from eating flesh. I have not freed myself from that, and it's a shame. I have a lot of defects. My mind tells me lots of things and that I don't practice. And that, I'm on the verge of doing that. I very little, but I still do that, and I don't like it. It's wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty well. Boy, we've really gone around the world here if we've gone to South Africa and back. But I want to ask you a couple of things in an even different part of the world, and that is Germany and Eastern Europe, where you've toured rather extensively. How do you explain the popularity of your music in Germany and Eastern Europe?
They, for some reason, they loved the third album, Deeper. That was they really got very attached to that, and as a result of that album, I was invited to play all over. In Moscow, we played 9,000 people in Prague, right before the
9,000. That's a lot.
I gave you that video.
That's right. I saw that too.
Oh, and that was 2 months before the fall of the communist government there. We played 3,000 in Moscow. We played Berlin. I'm going back to Berlin now in May. And we played Poland, we played Lithuania, and they loved that album, and they loved what we do on stage, you know, and that's it. What can I say? What caused it? They liked the album Deeper.
What about their experience, would you say, in recent years under communism and so forth, would bring them to identify with your message?
Well, for example, in the concert in Prague, the first piece I did was called The Authorities. Mm-hmm. And here we have 9,000 Prague people in a stadium, Slavia Stadium, surrounded by police cars. And this was the first major music festival in Prague in 5 years. And I come out with the first piece called The Authorities, which is on the album Null. I've always been in trouble with the authorities. The authorities, who by whatever means would try to see for me. And I just go right into the piece called The Authorities with 4 great musicians. And I mean, if you've been in slavery, communist slavery, for 40 years, and someone has come bringing that message to you, and I go, challenging, challenging, challenging. I had 9,000 people throwing their hands up in the air.
That sounds a little sort of National Socialist.
No, it has nothing to do with National Socialist. It has to do with rejecting the authorities. That's what it has to do with. That,
yes, but it has to do also with a certain very strong emotional identification with you.
If anybody thinks that they're your authority, you should make them know very quickly that there are no authorities.
Well, wait a minute now.
And I'll tell you what, and not to say that I did it, but 2 months later the communist government went down. So I'm not saying that I did that.
You mean you're not directly responsible?
No, well, but let me.
Although you wouldn't disavow
Let me just run through this. In June of '89, we played Prague.
Right.
2 months later, the communist government went down.
Right.
In July of '89, we played Poland. 2 months later, the Polish people started marching in the streets, and the communist government went down. We played in Vilnius, Lithuania in July. 2 months later, they just started declaring independence from the Soviet Union. We played 3,000 people in Moscow. About 3 months later, they started marching along in the streets, declaring wanting the communist government to go down. Let's see, what else would we have here? We played October 2nd in Berlin. 7 days later, the Berlin Wall came down. I told this story to this guy from Holland. He says, "Copernicus, please don't come to Holland." I'm not saying that we did that. I'm just saying we were very courageous. We walked into the storm. Larry Kerwin, who is now a own band called Black 47, and Mike Conrad, Dave Conrad, and Tom Hamlin, and Mike Fazio on guitar. Those 4 great musicians, and Corbett Santana did the video.
What about Pierce?
Pierce, unfortunately, was on...
What's his last name?
Pierce Turner.
Turner.
Pierce was on tour at that time on his own. He has his own record deal with Beggars Banquet and was unable to go on tour with us. But he did come back. He did come back and play. Oh, Pierce did play the. Pierce played the October 2nd gig, I believe. Yeah, but he did not play. We played in Berlin before that. July 22nd, we played in Berlin also. He played the October 2nd gig. Pierce did play it. We went there.
What do you think, by the way, of all this anti-foreigner strain that's showing up in Germany?
We experienced it in Poland. I had a black, our black video guy was a black man by the name of Corbett Santana. He came with us from New York. And they did a number on him in Sopot in northern Poland, where not didn't punch him or anything, but they took his hat and played with him, and and generally psyched him up and frightened the hell out of him to such an extent that he went home from there. He didn't continue with us to Moscow and Vilnius and southern Poland.
What about in Germany?
Now, I understand these skinheads are now in Germany. I understand they're also in Prague, which is a city that I love. And you see, what happens is these are not really Hitler followers. They're more creations of the very poor conditions that existed there. And you'll find that coming out in any part of the world where when things are very bad, the human being will try to blame somebody.
Are they still not Hitler followers if they wear swastika armbands and specific National Socialist symbols from World War II?
Well, Hitler was a product of very bad times. They had severe inflation in Germany, and